But I think your point about Kittle, he's down the pecking order for touchdowns and targets. That's why, I mentioned a guy like Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson can truly be that second target in the Minnesota offense. And so there's value with that. And so you have to look across the league with, okay, what tight ends are going to be really relied on? You go up to New England. Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is one of those sleepers that's going to be relied on in this offense, or Mike Gesicki. So you have to kind of choose between one of those. But I think one of them could be, if not both, in an offense that they're trying to find an identity. And anyway, we'll talk more about that. But you're right. Kittle, as good of a name as he is, as good of a personality as he is, and he is awesome, but he's just not needed because they got other guys. They got a lot of weapons there.
Yeah, I think for tight ends, you definitely want to look for a guy, because not everyone's going to be the number one option, like, a Mark Andrews or a Kelsey. But you want a guy who could be the number two as your starting tight end on a week-to-week basis. And there's a lot of tight ends that I just feel like I'm out on this year. Kittle, because he's probably the number 3 there, probably the number 4, depending on, who's injured or who's healthy or not. And another guy like Dallas Goedert, he's going as a top 5 tight end right now too. But I don't see Dallas Goedert, overtaking Devonta Smith or, AJ Brown in targets. So I don't really see the path for these guys to be, consistent producers. You're pretty much hoping that they score touchdowns, which if you're just hoping that your tight end scores touchdowns, you might as well get Taysom Hill and hope that Taysom Hill, punches it in at the goal line every week, because it doesn't make sense to me to draft guys who don't have the volume upside in their NFL offense, and you're just looking for them to, catch a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. No, this is a bonus. We'll get more into it, but for those that have listened all the way to the end, yeah, this is some good tight end talk, because like I mentioned earlier, Darren Waller, he has a chance to be maybe even the number 1 target in New York. So there's value there. And then also even Kyle Pitts outside of Drake London, Pitts has got to be the guy. The problem is, are they going to throw enough? Are they just going to run the ball? And they got 3 good running backs. So, but those are some guys, I really like. And as much as I like Evan Ingram, there's a lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville. And then Freiermuth, I do like a lot. And I think he can be that 3rd guy there. But will there be enough volume? That's fair to question. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
and that's why I with Dulcich before, I think Dulcich could even be the number 1, but if he's the number 2 behind Judy, I think that's very, predictable. He could definitely be the number 2 there, even if Judy's great. A guy like Tyler Higbee, who no one wants to draft, but he's probably the number 2 option from a volume standpoint behind Cooper Kupp. And then even, looking at a guy like David Njoku in Cleveland, we don't really know what we're getting out of Elijah Moore. He could certainly be the number 2 option there behind, Amari Cooper. I think there's paths for guys later down the board to receive a lot more targets and opportunities than you think, rather than saying, okay, well, I've, got to go get Kittle or someone else and just hope that they score touchdowns. Because if a tight end is, getting 5 receptions for 50 yards, that's going to be worth more points than a tight end getting 2 receptions for 20 and a touchdown, pretty much. Like if you're in PPR, I think you want to chase that volume. Standard's a little bit different, but I think most people are probably playing at least half PPR by now. Yep. And if I'm not going to be streaming the position, I want a guy every week. I want a guy who can get me 5 receptions. That's also why I'm out on guys, like Irv Smith, some people like, but Irv Smith is not going to be a top 4 receiving option for the Bengals. Gerald Everett's not going to be a top, option for the Chargers. You may get some weeks out of them, but really not something you could start every week.
No, this is a good conversation. It's helping me kind of think through my strategy as well. Cause I think there's a couple guys you want, and go get them. You may even have to reach, but you got to get them. You got to get one of these guys that you can really rely on and count on. I think it's worth it to try to play the tight end roulette and streaming and all that. It's a lot of luck with that. It really is.
And then one more name. I know a lot of people are excited about rookie Dalton Kincaid. We already know that rookie tight ends don't really produce that well in fantasy, but is Dalton Kincaid going to, be over Stephon Diggs or be over Gabe Davis? Probably not. So,
or Josh Allen stealing touchdowns,
right?
Damian Harris stealing touchdowns, maybe James Cook. So, it's, even though they'll score a lot in Buffalo, they should anyway.